MTR Monday family. Welcome back. I'm Dunn Dela Cruz, father of five, founder of DVG, and someone who used to fumble every part of this MTR game. I was over leveraged, underprepared, and full of self doubt. But now I get to serve families nationwide and collaborate with other operators through corporate housing and coach others to do the same inside. There you go. Got a rep. AirVenture Academy. So, guys, if you're feeling stuck, tired of guessing, or just wondering if you're even doing this the right way, pay very close attention today because we're breaking down the mistakes that most of us make when we're starting out in MTR and how to avoid or fix them. Now, before we jump in, here's the MTR Monday code. You guys know what it is. And for the new folks, this is how we grow in the game together. MTR is a collaborative sport, I'd say, compared to a lot of the other real estate investing strategies. If you're not collaborating, you're missing it. So the code, guys, show up weekly. Someone else needs to hear those answers. And, when we hold up those questions and we're just viewers on the sideline, we don't get the help that we need. So show up, ask those questions, and you'll be surprised. A lot of folks are in the same situation as you, feeling stuck, right? Facing the same obstacles. So if we could help you, let's help other folks as well. So show up weekly, drop your questions, and finally share this show. Share it to a friend. Maybe you've been talking about MTR a lot and they're curious, but they're not sure what resource to research, or just send them this show. It might help them out. It might help them get started. Guys, remember, what we do around here, it's not just content and fluff. It's about proper guidance, proper mentorship, moving you guys in motion towards, the success that you guys are looking for by taking the proper steps in MTR. So today's topic, guys, it's, I really wanted to do, you guys know it's my favorite for our public community Facebook posts and reviewing people's questions or their listings. But today, we've noticed a big wave of operators, and a lot of them in our community, new in our community, facing similar mistakes. So Jesse and I felt like this was the key topic instead of doing reviews. So we'll probably get back next week and review some of the Facebook posts. So we're going to break down the mistakes. And guys, I've made these mistakes too. We were all, we're all newbies once. We didn't know what we don't know. So if I say something that stings, it probably matters, right? We shouldn't just shrug it off. Let's get right. So mistake number one, guys. Let me copy my notes here so you guys could see. Mistake number one, I'm going to post it here so you guys could see, is copying Airbnb instead of solving real problems. Let me share this. Boom. Share. Can't share. Oh, how the heck do I do that? Well, anyways, I can't share. I just wanted to share copying Airbnb instead of solving real problems. Guys, this is a trap. This is old school way of, not old school, but, old school way of thinking. This is like 2020, 2017 era where we're just talking about how fancy our listing is and the quality of the furniture. Majority of the time, on these outreach on the lead gen, the B2B side, right? That's how we hedge against vacancy. Most folks I hear on their conversations is they're just talking about their listing description. That's how they position themselves. Not realizing the client that they're reaching out to, right? The industry B2B, they need help. They're in crisis, and that's how we need to position ourselves. Most folks will just offer, the blackout curtains. Those are great. Don't get me wrong. That's what got me back in the day. I'm like, oh, that is amazing. That's a great idea for these travel nurses. Sound machine, right? But the game has changed. And some folks are still doing the old strategy, right? Trying to get that connection or build that relationship, just talking about their units, talking about the amenities that they have instead of real solutions for that industry, for that person you're talking to, right? We're just sounding like short-term rental operators. Nothing against short-term rental operators at all, right? Nothing against STR, but, to get in the corporate space for MTR, get those higher contracts, we need to think differently, right? So starting with who you serve or why you're even serving that specific type of industry or client, travel nurse, right? For example, you have to be able to position yourself on who you serve and why you serve them, right? For calling a recruiter, for traveling nurses or medical professionals, we got to position ourselves on why we're even doing it, right? It's not just cash flow and to get our units booked. Like, that's not the type of conversations these reps plan to have or even think of having. So if you position yourself as a service, as a business, your business as a service, that's when you start to build that connection, that traction, right? And plus, you want to learn about the industry, right? So you know the language that they speak, right? We can't be using construction language if we're working with, construction crews, and then we're serving the tech industry. Like, it's two different worlds, two different amenities and needs and problems that they have when they're looking for housing. Like, usually for construction crews, one of their biggest issue is their work trucks, right? So learn the language of the industry, the client you're trying to serve, right? Be specific. This means, do your research, your homework, right? That's really, go on LinkedIn. You hear Jesse say it all the time. Go on LinkedIn, read their posts, ChatGPT, leverage ChatGPT. You guys know that, I'm way far behind with ChatGPT, and it's been blowing my mind, right? It just helps me with research and just being organized. Anyway, it's not about a ChatGPT. Leverage the tools around you, do the research. Don't just use the Google, use multiple platforms to fully understand who you're serving, right? When you're having these conversations with these reps, right, they can hear that, they can sense it, and that's what essentially puts their guard down, makes them engage and listen into your pitch, right? And that's the last thing we want to do, is sound like we're pitching folks, because these reps, they're privy, right? They know it. They're starting to get understanding of what's going on, and the housing providers reaching out to them. And if we're all sounding the same and just talking about our property, me, and not genuinely interested on them and how you could help them, it makes a huge difference. It's like this. One of my favorite quotes from John C. Maxwell is, people don't care. I'm probably messing this up. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, I think, right? So basically, understand the industry, understand who you're trying to serve, right? And then that's the beginning steps. That's essentially your admission ticket into building that B2B relationship, because that's really what we specialize in, right? That's how we 2.0'd the MTR strategy. I mean, MTR has been around for a long time, but when Jesse came out the gates, he was, seriously leading in that B2B strategy, right? Tying it into midterm rentals. And that's how we've been so successful with bookings and working with corporate contracts. It's not just, set and forget and, using our listing description to guide our business. That's just a layer. All right, moving forward. Mistake number 2, It would be no, you don't have the proper positioning. No positioning means you have no power, right? So like if I were to look at your listing or maybe even your LinkedIn, right? Hopefully you guys have a LinkedIn. If I'm looking at that and or even your email page, like if I review your email page, and we do this all the time in class, if I can tell who you are, like who you help, right? The main service that you do, the industry you're focused on, and what makes you different in like the first like 2 sentences, the first 10 seconds of the phone call, that's a problem, right? Like we start to lose engagement. We have to come out the gates, not just spilling it all fast and this is what I do, a corporate housing provider. Well, we also got to be graceful and in control, but we have to position ourselves as, and this ties in with mistake number one, but we have to position ourselves as problem solvers, right? Look for the problems. And that's kind of weird because nobody wants problems, right? Like we're looking for the least resistance naturally as humans, right? But in business, entrepreneurship, what, I've learned is we're problem solvers. And if you're not a problem solver, then you have no business at all of having a business. If you're just thinking about the cash flow and, the return, the very transactional, you may make, a couple doll hairs, but you're not building anything sustainable. So be a problem solver and own that space, right? And then define your lane as well. Like if it's, whether it's travel nurse, film crews, construction, relocation, sport, whatever it is, like master that. You have to be obsessed with that client, with that industry, and I wouldn't say stay in your lane, but master that lane before you start going to other industries, right? And when you do that, you'll see the framework of, building that relationship is almost cut and paste. We're just changing the language. We're just changing the problems that they have, right? We're changing the tone of the conversation depending on, the industry that we're in. But master your lane. Now this is different when you're new in a market, right? Everyone's different. Everyone has a different story. But if you're new in a market and you're not sure who to serve, you're essentially casting a wide net, right? Sometimes you get travel nurses, sometimes you get displaced families. You should be tracking that, right? And sometimes it's seasonality, right? Maybe in the springtime we get a lot of travel nurses, in the wintertime, not so much travel nurses, right? We got to track those and identify, like, okay, springtime, we're serving travel nurses, right? During the fall, we're serving X industry, whatever industry that is, right? And track those, because if you're not tracking, and I say this all the time in these sessions, is, well, I didn't make it up. Peter Drucker is, what doesn't get tracked doesn't get measured. We don't know where we're going. We don't know how to grow. We don't know what bottlenecks to solve, right? So track your clients if you're casting a wide net, if you're new in the market. And from there, you can start zeroing in, right? And then on your outreach, guys, it goes with language. I've been hammering this down for the last, how long we've been here already? 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Speak with clarity and certainty. How do you do that? Research, homework, right? Getting connected, talking to folks. We have this guy, Cam, in our program, and he got connected with a big dog. There's a lot of new development in the state where he's investing in, and he got really connected. He went to the city hall meetings and was trying to figure out how he could position himself. So he didn't just come out the gate saying like, hey, I'm in midterm rentals and this is what we do and this is what you need, right? He was listening first. What's that saying that goes, we have we have two ears and one mouth for a reason. Use them accordingly, right? So let's listen, let's look for those problems, and then position ourselves. And then, if you've worked with a certain type of industry, don't be afraid to bring that up in the call. Don't be afraid to, add that to your leaflet or to your website, right? Use examples of people you've helped, right? This builds trust fast. Like, okay, so this person understands, this operator understands our industry. Let's hear them out, right? There's this cool Christina. I have this student, Christina. Shout out to Christina down in SoCal, California, in Carson area. This was a couple weeks ago, and I remember she was in class and she was asking, we're talking about lead gen and reaching out to different companies in your market, the B2B strategy. And she was asking like if she should reach out to a restoration company that she's worked with before, because her pipes burst like in the past, one of her rental units. And she thought that, I was asking like, is it a good idea if I should reach out? I remember asking that, and I'm like, heck yeah. Like, you don't know, right? We can't make assumptions like, oh, they're a restoration company. They just fix whatever, pipes bursting or water leaks or whatever, right? Reach out. Don't assume, right? Ask them questions first. You're learning about the industry. You're learning how you can help them. And she was also a client, so that made it easy, for her to set that meeting with one of the decision makers, one of the, supervisors, top dogs in the company. She had that conviction to reach out, right? So she had her story kind of aligns with, bringing up past experience with clients you've helped. In this case, it was her. Anyways, long story short, she got connected with, I think, the marketing manager, and the manager, loved the idea of them, helping each other out, B2B, and now they're collaborating, right? They've put some marketing material together. They've, I think they even did a couple Instagram posts together. It's a powerful positioning. Like, that's the point, right? And it started with asking the question, like, is it a good idea, right? And then, having the accountability, like, hey, you never know. Let's go give it a shot. Pretty sure if she was by herself, right, she probably wouldn't have called, because we get in the way of ourselves. We'd be like, why would they want to work with me? They're of this industry. That doesn't relate. Which aligns with my story of getting connected with Princess Cruises. All right. Like, I say this to students all the time. When I first thought about it, I was like, they're on a boat. Like, what does that got to do with me? Right? What does that got to do with rentals, midterm rentals? Like, but if I allowed myself to stay in that thought and didn't reach out, didn't ask questions, try to identify their problems, positioning myself, learning about the industry, I wouldn't have this connection with them, right? So, all right, let's move on, guys. Mistake number 3. This is more for my, folks that are arbitraging, right? And arbitrage, you can be arbitraging contracts, traditional arbitrage, where, when you arbitrage a LTR, right? A vacant long-term rental. Maybe you're reaching out to mom and pop landlord, and, you're trying to do the pitch. You made the phone call, and for some reason it's not connecting. You're hoping that the landlord understands you. Like, how come this person doesn't get it? We do corporate rentals. We work with ideal clients and corporate clients. And how come this person is not getting it? They don't want to work with me. They don't want to partner up or collaborate, use me, have me as a tenant. You guys need to remember, it's your job to educate. You're the specialist. You're the expert in your field, right? So for us to kind of get upset and think like, oh, these landlords don't know anything, like, well, I mean, they don't. So it's your job to educate them and speak their language as well, right? You got to frame the conversation. educating people with confidence, is probably going to be the key thing to make that connection, especially for landlords, right? And they're open to it, It's not like they're saying, "Oh, don't teach me anything." Like it's not what we say; it's how we say it too, right? Just try not to be overwhelming or talking fast and trying to give them too much information. Let there be feedback. Let them ask questions, right? And the types of question you ask them, it's like discovery questions. Again, you have to identify problems. We're problem solvers, right? So what are the main problems landlords commonly face? Then offer that solution, right? One of the main things we could say is their turnover cost, right? You can ask them, how much is your turnover after a typical, 2-year, 3-year renter leaves your place? On average, it's like $3,000 to $5,000. It really depends, right? And if you can deliver and position yourself, and don't make an offer, don't provide a service if you're not going to execute on it. But if you can, bring certainty, if you were to move out, if you guys were to ever end a contract, after 3 years, after 5 years, guarantee them that they're going to receive the home with either the same condition they gave it to you, or even in better condition. That's like a huge relief for landlords, your traditional LTR landlords, right? You're the guide, you're the specialist, you're the expert, right? So guide them towards the goal that they have, right? But first, we gotta ask the proper questions, those discovery questions, and identify, like, what's really troubling them, right? Guaranteed rent, that's another one, right? Squatters, they're afraid of squatters. Lots of landlords, even in the MTR space, right? But when I hear folks are afraid of squatters, I mean, you can't stop it. If someone's gonna do it, right, no matter what systems you have, someone is gonna do it. But you could see a lot, from an operator, a landlord. If they don't have systems, they have a higher probability of, squatters, right? They're not thoroughly doing the background check, right? Alrighty, let's see. Let's move on to the next one, guys. What time is it? All right. Mistake number 4. No CRM. We're not organized. That's me. Like, I'm a go guy, and then I look back, I'm like, holy crap, look at the aftermath. Look at all this mess. I gotta reorganize. I was infamous at that, when I first started, and absolutely, doing a lot better. Especially if you have, folks around you, you have a team that can help you be organized. That's going to be super key. But there's a lot of folks. It ties in with what I said earlier of what doesn't get tracked doesn't get measured, right? There's a lot of folks who's not using a proper tracking system, no CRM, no pipeline, no follow up, right? Maybe they'll do a blast on email one time. And I see this, they'll blast an email, they won't get a response, and that's it. Like, guys, you're not going to, it's extremely rare. It's more normal for you to not get a response your first call, your first lead gen email, cold email outreach. That's totally normal, right? Yeah. But I see too many people quit too soon after the first attempt, right? Or maybe you did send it out and you did get a response back, but we're so disorganized that we miss it. We miss the email, we miss the text, and that's a missed opportunity. So we need to stay organized. We need to leverage tools, right? Have a CRM, and you don't have to get the fancy, most expensive type. You could even use traditional. If you're just starting out, Google Sheets, spreadsheets, right? Like, get the free version, right? Like, you don't have to go extreme and get the fanciest just yet. Build it out on free tools, Google spreadsheets, track categorize, your KPIs, what you're tracking, how you're sending out your outreach, when you're sending out your outreach, what did we say, in this email. Track those, and then you can identify what's working and what's not working, right? And I get it, we get distracted, right? There's a lot of things going on. We take a break, or we're on our phone, social media, and we totally forget like what we were supposed to be doing. Or maybe we kind of, in a low-key type of way, trying to just sweep it under the rug because it's something that's not exciting or we don't want to do it, right? So you have to be intentional. You have to be intentional with your follow-ups, and ways to be intentional is having the right tools, right? Having the right systems. You guys need to remember that the income that you get, it's tied to your systems, to your company culture, your standards, your product, right? It's all connected. It starts with your follow-up game, right? Not your first outreach and like, oh, looks like there's no travel nurses in this market. No. Keep going. Maybe it's timing. Maybe it's the wording. Maybe it's the person that you sent it to, and you need to find a different person in that company to get connected with, right? So it's about giving it, you got to put the reps, giving it multiple reps. It's like going to the gym. I say that all the time. I know, but it really is. It's like 25 pounds, 30-pound dumbbell, whatever. You know how much that weighs already. 25 pounds. It's nothing new to you. You've been going to the gym, but you still get those reps in, right? And you got to get those reps in. You got to be consistent before you start seeing the results. You have to be mindful, and you have to track what you're saying, when you're saying it, how you're saying it, who you're saying it to, right? So there's a lot of, fancy tools out there. I'm not, a tech nerd or anything like that, but I went a long time with Google Sheets, and now I am using Go High Level, which is, one of the top tier, but I don't suggest it just yet if you're starting, right? And then build a rhythm on your follow-ups, right? And follow through. That sounds good. I should write that down. Build a rhythm with your follow-ups, right? You're sending email on Mondays, and then you're following up on Wednesday, Thursday. Is it 5 days, 7 days, and then 14 days? Are you switching up your emails, your scripts, your approach for every different follow-up, right? You have to maintain that engagement from that first call or from the first email, right? And don't be so abrasive or just shoot out the gates. We have to kind of pause, identify, ask discovery questions, and see how we could really help this specific industry or company, right? Be intentional. Alrighty, mistake number 5. You think you're an operator, but still in grind mode. I fell victim to this a lot. And I would probably say it's because of just like the way I'm, the way I was raised, the way I'm built or whatever. But, I've been told a lot that, oh, Dunn's a hard worker and, you could rely on him. And that started to and I applied that everywhere I went. I've worked a lot in different industries. I've worked in the electrical construction industry. I've drove semi trucks. I've worked in the hospital, in the laboratory. I've worked a lot of different jobs, and I've always brought in that grind mode, work, get it done. Oh, I got it. And in business, it works in the beginning, maybe your first couple years of grind mode, but then you also got to start zooming out, because that I get hyper focused. If I'm in grind mode, I'm just looking, I got my blinders on and I'm just looking straight. But sometimes we got to zoom out and see that the type of grind, the type of work that we're putting in, are we still in alignment? tying myself to this business where, what's that saying? You got to work on your business, not in your business, right? So we need to be able to zoom out of grind mode, right? You're probably doing a lot. You're doing everything. And that's totally normal. That's fine. I'm not saying I'm against that. I'm a big advocate for newbies to work in every department, right? The tech side, the guest communication, the accounting side, all of that, the design side. So at least you have a general foundation experience as you grow, and you start to learn what you need and what you're good at, what you're not good at. And, when you work with contractors or start building a team, hiring people, you have a general idea of what you like, right? Or what you need, what you're looking for. So I'm not against that, but there is a time where some of you folks, you guys are still tied in, right? You guys are like spinning your wheels. So there's definitely a difference between, grinding in your business and being a builder, right? And sometimes it's not effort, and I'm just going to stay up late, and, I'm going to wake up extra. Sometimes it's structure, right? Like, have an accountability partner, have someone who's 3 steps, 5 steps, 10 steps ahead of you, who's made those mistakes. And you can just ask them, like, hey, am I going down the right path? Is this the right approach? Am I in alignment? We all need it, right? We all need that accountability, because we could just keep swinging. We could keep swinging, but we're swinging at the wrong direction. And that's the last thing we want, right? So get familiar with, your daily task. Don't just be on autopilot, and try to build workflows, systems, SOPs, right? A lot of folks skip out on that, and they just kind of operate off of memory or off of gut feeling, as newbies. But take the time to create those SOPs. There's a lot of tech tools out there that can help you with that as well, right? If you're doing a specific task, maybe you're drafting a lease on Turbo Tenant, right? Which is what majority of us MTR operators, I use it, Jesse uses it because it holds our hand. But let's say you're using Turbo Tenant, create a SOP on that when you're drafting up a lease, right? So when you hire someone on, boom, you have it. You're creating these repeatable steps, repeatable workflows, right? Whether it's scripts when we're calling B2B, or a client intake form, right? A housing request. Build that up. Don't just shoot from the hip, right? You have to set standards for your business. I still see a lot of folks with the mindset of 2020, right? Or I was talking to Jesse today, and I was like, dude, I see, I've been talking to a lot of folks who's looking for hot pocket results. And that's not how business is made. And I've learned the hard way. When I first started, I was like, oh yeah, if they could do it, I could do it, passive income, and not realizing that there's other areas, within myself, within my business, within everything that I had to look. And it's not just listing it on Airbnb and, I'm a millionaire now, passive income. No, we have to create standards. We have to build skill sets. We have to 2.0 our mindset if we are in this business space as entrepreneurs, problem solvers. If you're bringing in your old mindset, and we all have it, if you're bringing your old mindset and you want to live that passive income, that financial freedom life, you cannot bring your old self, your old way of doing things, right? And it's hard. I get it. It's hard because you don't know what you don't know, right? That's why you got to find someone, and a lot of you guys, that's why you're here, right? That's why we do this, because we know how it is when you're alone and you don't have the proper guidance. And am I doing this the right thing? But, have that partner, have that accountability group where you could find alignment in your, build that structure in your business, create that standard. You know what I mean? So I think this was a Dan Martell saying of, just asking yourself, while you're working, going through your day, right? Just asking yourself, am I working inside my business or am I bird's eye view, right? Like just looking and seeing everything. Sometimes when we zoom in, we get too hyper focused. We miss a lot of steps, right? So just remember, guys, amateurs wing it. And, operators, they're intentional. They document it, right? They ask questions. They get the help that they need. Alrighty, guys. Remember, being busy is not it's not a cool thing to say, like, oh, I'm busy. That's essentially a badge. That's a badge that you're putting on as a beginner, right? Beginners are always busy, and that's fine. If you're a beginner, that's fine. But if you've been doing this for a while now, 6 months, a year and a half, right? It's time to really zoom out and let's look at our systems. Let's look at what we're doing. Let's look at our outreach. Let's look at our pitch. Let's look at our properties, right? Let's look at our emails. Like, why is it not connecting? Right? It's not just constantly sending the same script, the same email over and over again. Sometimes we need to 2.0, right? So remember that systems are the stamp of building a sustainable business. Let's see. I think we got a little more time for some questions. Let's see if we don't have questions come up on the chat, I'll go here in the question folder that we have here. I've been batching up questions that I find on our public Facebook group and posts, and I could just pull one from there. But if you guys got any questions, shoot, put it in the chat. Let me pull up my chat first. What the heck is the chat box? Let's see what you guys say. Shannon's in the house. Let's see, you guys let me go on the Facebook if you guys got any questions. Jesse is traveling right now to Nashville. So if you guys are out in Nashville, go meet my man out there. Get connected with Jesse Vasquez himself. He's going to be at that STR event in Nashville. So get connected with him, man. I'm jealous. Like I really wanted to go, but I've already exhausted my babysitting hours. My mom was a gem. She's always a gem. But she was here for 2 months helping out because summer break, right? So it gets crazy in the house. So she was here for 2 months helping out with the kids. You guys know I'm a full-time dad, full-time with the little rugrats. All right, let me see if you guys got questions here in the Facebook group. Let me refresh this. Midterm Monday. No questions there. Let me go back on the chat. No questions on the chat. All right, so let's go in the bank of questions that we have. Let's see. This is good. This one is, how do I find a niche if I don't have bookings yet? Market analysis is going to be key. Understanding your market, right? Folks, I know it can be confusing, right? When you hear someone say like, find the client, find the lead, find the problem first and build the product, right? But in my experience in doing this and from, leaders I've watched and learned from, that's really the recipe. It's not getting the product first and then finding the client, the buyers. And a lot of us, we were in that position. That's how I started. Essentially, I started as short-term rental operator for the first 3 months. YouTube University, thought, I was like, oh, I could do this. If these guys could do it, why not me? Till I hit that, the cap of YouTube University. I'm like, okay, there's something missing. What is it? And then here comes Jesse Vasquez talking about travel nurses. And I was like, that's it. That's who I'm going to learn from. and I'm going to stop messing around. If I really want control over my time, if I really want to be 100% with my family, be with my kids. And, just a side note, side quest is why that was so important for me to be 100% stay-at-home dad, is because before real estate, I was always traveling for work. I was in construction, electrical construction, did, jobs in Southern California, a lot in Northern California, um, Colorado, Nevada, and I was on the road a lot. And um, at that time, my wife was pregnant with our twin boys. And not to dive deep on that story, but that you know, uh, she went through the pregnancy by herself essentially because I'm on the road working. So that became my goal. It's like, how can I, have control of my time? And I want to be with my kids. I want to raise them and guide them. How can I do that? And when I lost my career, or I got injured and ended my career, um, it all fell into place. Saw a couple YouTube videos and I was like, this is it. This is what I'm doing. Right? I didn't look left. I didn't look right. I just locked in, did the work, got the help, and I was very intentional. And now I'm reaping the rewards. So that's why I'm a big believer. I have that conviction, that if I could do it, there's absolutely no reason why you guys can't do it. Right? The only one of the first issues truly is that, I've identified is first step, level one is we're in the way of ourselves, the way we think, right? Like, oh, that can't happen. That's not for me. And that's exactly why we don't grow, we don't scale, we don't level up, right? It's because we're getting in the way of ourselves. All right, that was a side quest. Let's get back to how do I find a niche if I don't have bookings yet. So if you already have a property, right, in which a lot of folks, they're in this position, especially with regulations, they started as STR and now they got outlawed or whatever, right? And they're banned in their town for short-term rentals. They already have the property and they see the solution as MTR, right? How do we identify that? Market analysis is going to be super key. Real life data from other operators. So networking is key. This public group, right? The Jesse's public Facebook group, get a lot of information in there, right? I mean, there's some folks that's kind of that's why Jesse and I, we do this to really set the tone on the proper info, because there's some information there that's really not helpful. I'll be real with you guys, right? So market analysis is going to be super key. Tracking the type of clients you've had in the past, looking at the months that they came in, and then reaching out, asking those questions. It all ties in, really. This is a good question. Ties in with today's topic, right? The mistakes. And then once you get that data, once you get that information, then you start zeroing in on that client. Or maybe you could be like Christina, right? One of our students who she had experience with a restoration company, right? And now they're providing each other clients, that B2B. So I would say that's how you niche it down. You have to really track it, right? And if you have a story and experience with a specific industry, maybe you are a travel nurse, you know what it's like, and you want to make it easier for other travel medical professionals, that's your niche, right? Zero in on it, master it, right? The bonus mistake, I'll say, and then I'll end it from here is, I hear a lot of folks, they'll start MTR and they'll go like, oh, I want to do travel nurses in this market. And then I'll ask them like, okay, what makes you want to do travel nurses, in that market? Well, there's a hospital down the street. Okay. How many hospitals are there? There's one, it's a level 2 hospital. I'm like, all right, what else? And that's it. It's like, no, that's what I saw, that's what I saw Jesse talking about. And they think that's their lane, their niche. There has to be more. There has to be a why, right? There has to be some sort of connection, a story for it to really be your niche. Don't just see it because you saw Jesse's video about travel nurses, which for those who's been operating MTR a while knows that, some markets, the travel nurse demand has slowed down. Their stipend, their, housing allowance has, it wasn't as high as COVID era. So yeah, you just have to be mindful with the little details, right? So look at the details, look at the data in your market. And if you have a story that aligns, now we're cooking with peanut oil. Alrighty, guys. Thank you for showing up for yourselves. And let me see. Oh, is there a question here? Hold up. Ashley. What should Ashley say? I run a large business in a different field, so I'm not looking for support with systems or operations, but I'm very interested in referrals and networking opportunities within the industry. There's a program. Oh, she's doing a program call. Hop on a call with me. Actually, book a call with me, and then I'll break that down for you. We won't do it on the live, but yeah, I mean, just so you have something to walk away with. There's some folks, like big dogs. Fernando down in San Diego, he has, I think, 200 doors now. He's heavy into multi-families, and I'm actually always reaching out to him about that because I don't have experience with, commercial units. Right, this guy has a lot of apartments. Anyways, I remember when he signed up. This was, I think, 2 years ago. He was like, "Dunn, I don't need that part of the coaching, that part of the program. I'm just here trying to leverage your guys' network." I was like, "This guy gets it, right? He gets it. You get it too, actually. That it's all about networking, and a lot of folks that are a little further along in the journey." They'll join our program specifically just to leverage our resources, right? Be in the same room of folks that's worked with Amazon, with Rivian, with insurance claims, ALE Solutions, CRS, all those, big dogs, and hear the real conversations, the real experience to 2.0, their journey, their outreach, their B2B connection, right? And, these corporate companies, they like hearing that when, you have a network of professional operators nationwide. I'm straight up, like, that's what a lot of people do. They leverage our community and say, "Hey, I have a community of 600 operators nationwide. If you don't need anything in my market, in you don't need this rental property, what do you need help in?" Ties in with our lesson today, right? We're trying to serve them. We're learning how to be problem solvers. So Ashley, book a call with me and I'll break it down for you. It's just a 10-minute call, and if it makes sense, we'll love to see if we can help you. All right, cool. Let me see if there's any other questions. That's it. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all for being here today. If something clicked, if something made sense to you, or you see a little clarity, please move on it this week. Take action right away. Like, when we let it sit, or when you say, "Oh, I'll do it later," there's a big chance you won't. You sure about that? There's a big chance you won't, because we get distracted, right? So move on it right away. Fail forward. Don't be afraid to fail. Fail forward. We'll be back next Monday. Same time, same energy. Keep building, guys. Keep learning. And remember, this is a real business. Let's treat it like one. Nashville folks, go out and to the STR Wealth Con. Jesse's out there. Get connected. And I think he's going to meet up with one of our students' camp too, another up-and-coming big dog. Catch Jesse on the JV pod. He's putting out solid interviews, not just in the midterm rental space, but we have some of our students going on in there, right? Our students that are killing it. Jesse likes to bring in other folks from other industries as well, so we could learn and maybe 2.0 our strategy. So the JV pod, you could catch that in a lot of your podcast streaming platforms. I'm Dunn Dela Cruz, Air Venture Academy represent. Catch you guys next week. Peace.